some films weren't pulled for bad reviews. They were hunted down, chopped up, and locked away. These are the 10 most banned movies Hollywood tried to erase, but somehow they're still here. Pink Flamingos didn't push boundaries, it nuked them. Drag icon Divine stars in a filthy showdown to prove she's the filthiest person alive. The crimes? Incest, animal cruelty, public indecency. And in the final scene, she eats actual dog poop. No props, no cuts, just one take. America freaked out, banned in multiple states, labeled obscene, video stores refused to touch it. But word spread. Midnight screenings exploded. It became the underground movie, so disgusting, you had to see it. John Waters embraced the chaos. Critics called it garbage. Today, it's in museums, restored, celebrated, quoted in film schools, from filth to fame. Waters later said, "I was convicted of good taste. Too late." The sentence stuck, and the legend lived on. The most insane breakup film ever made. Possession, 1981, begins with a divorce and descends into madness. Isabella Johnny's subway freakout, 3 minutes of screaming, flailing, and bleeding, is still one of the most disturbing scenes in film history, and it only gets worse. Affairs, murders, a tentacled lover birthed in a locked apartment. Andrzej Żuławski turned his real-life divorce into a horror opera. The UK banned it as a video nasty. Australia cut it to ribbons. Critics were stunned. Audiences were split. But a Johnny won Best Actress at Cannes for a performance that nearly broke her. The film disappeared, then re-emerged as a cult obsession. Some call it horror, some call it art, but there's still debate about what's real and what was just in her head. Freaks, 1932, didn't scare audiences with monsters, it terrified them with reality. Director Todd Browning cast real sideshow performers, limbless men, conjoined twins, microcephalics. What began as a story of love and betrayal turned into one of the most infamous revenge finales in film history. Test audiences panicked. One woman reportedly threatened to sue MGM for psychological damage. The studio cut over 30 minutes, destroying key footage. Censors banned it in the UK for 30 years. Browning, once respected for Dracula, was blacklisted. The original cut? Lost forever. Critics called it grotesque, exploitative. MGM buried it, hoping it would fade. It didn't. Today, Freaks is a cult legend, not for what it shows, but for what it dared to show in 1932. And rumor has it, the full cut still exists, locked in a vault. Santa Sangre, 1989, opens with a naked boy in a coffin, and somehow gets weirder from there. Directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, it follows a traumatized mime whose armless mother controls him, literally, forcing him to kill as her arms. There's a circus cult, ritual murder, and dreamlike gore that feels ripped from a hallucination. Censors across Europe weren't having it. The film was banned or heavily edited in several countries, not for one specific crime, but for its total sensory assault. Too violent, too surreal, too much. Critics didn't know if it was genius or madness. Over time, it earned comparisons to Freaks and Psycho, but shot through a fever dream lens. Jodorowsky called it a film made with blood, not ink. But there's still a version floating around that no distributor will touch. Not yet. I Spit on Your Grave, 1978, wasn't banned quietly. It was burned at the stake. The story follows a woman brutally assaulted by 4 men and her slow, methodical revenge. No music, no edits, no escape. Critics called it vile. Roger Ebert said it was a vile bag of garbage. The UK banned it outright, labeling it a video nasty, while other countries cut minutes, even full scenes, to stop the outrage. Feminists were split. Some saw trauma, others saw power. Director Mayor Zarchi claimed it was inspired by a real rape victim he once helped. Still, the film was pulled from shelves, censored, and hunted down by moral watchdogs for years. It kept coming back, and in 2010, it got a remake, with twice the blood. The Devils, 1971, was banned before it even hit theaters. Ken Russell's feverish tale of possessed nuns, sadistic priests, and state-sanctioned torture was based on real events from 17th century France, but nobody was ready for the imagery. Orgies in cathedrals, naked exorcisms. Vanessa Redgrave is a hunchbacked nun lusting after a priest. Britain's censors hacked it to pieces. The US release was gutted. Warner Brothers shelved the uncut version and still refuses to release it. Critics screamed blasphemy. The Vatican condemned it. Even some horror fans looked away. But over time, it gained a cult following, viewers passing around bootlegs of the Rape of Christ scene like forbidden scripture. And somewhere, in a Warner vault, the full version waits, still sealed, still too dangerous. Peeping Tom, 1960, turned the camera into a murder weapon, literally. The killer films his victims as they die, watching their fear frame by frame. Audiences weren't just disturbed, they were furious. Critics called it perverse. The UK tabloids tore it apart. Director Michael Powell, once one of Britain's most respected filmmakers, was blacklisted overnight. Just 3 months later, Psycho hit theaters and got praised for doing almost the same thing. But while Hitchcock was celebrated, Powell was buried. The film was pulled from cinemas, banned in multiple countries, and vanished for decades. Only later did critics call it a masterpiece of psychological horror. But by then, Powell was gone, and the killer's camera still watching. The Last House on the Left, 1972, looked like a home movie, and that's what made it terrifying. Wes Craven's debut tells the story of 2 girls kidnapped and murdered by a sadistic gang, who then stumble into the home of one victim's parents. What follows is slow, savage revenge. No score, no glamour, just rage, shot guerrilla style on 16mm. It felt like a snuff film. The UK banned it as a video nasty. Australia followed. Even censored versions were denied release. The poster warned, "Keep repeating, it's only a movie." But audiences couldn't. Craven became a horror legend overnight by accident. It vanished for years. But collectors whisper about an original cut, longer, bloodier, never officially seen. Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975, is one of the most banned films in history, and it earns every warning. Pier Paolo Pasolini reimagines the Marquis de Sade's torture tale inside a fascist regime, where 4 men kidnap teens and subject them to weeks of humiliation, mutilation, and worse. Teeth are pulled, eyes are gouged, meals are served that should never be eaten. Pasolini called it a warning about power and dehumanization. Censors saw it differently. Banned in Italy, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, with screenings raided and reels confiscated. Days before the premiere, Pasolini was murdered, beaten and run over in a case still clouded by mystery. Some say he knew too much. Others say the film was a provocation too far. The original negatives? Locked in an Italian archive under constant guard. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980, looked so real, people thought it was a snuff film. Director Ruggero Deodato used handheld cameras, non-professional actors, and staged it like a documentary. The plot? A film crew goes missing in the Amazon, and what's found is their horrific footage. Torture, cannibalism, and real animals being killed on camera, a turtle, a monkey, a pig. Italy freaked out. The film was banned within days. Deodato was arrested for murder, accused of killing his actors on set. He had to bring them to court, alive, to prove otherwise. Even then, the ban spread. The UK, Australia, New Zealand, gone. But fans kept digging. Horror historians now call it the first true found footage film. The worst part? The version most people saw was already cut. Some films weren't made to be watched. They were made to be buried. But not here. Subscribe to VintageVerse for more banned, buried, and unforgettable cinema they didn't want you to see.